All right, everyone. Joe Biden has a really big problem. At this point, it's gone from, hey, this might get messy to it's really messy and Biden is fucked, basically. Even Obama's fucking physician, the former White House physician that worked with Obama and Trump, I believe, as well, he has come out and said that Biden is clearly in decline. And, of course, as White House chief physician, this is someone in the know. He worked with Obama. Vice president at the time, who was it? It was Joe Biden. So he's getting the same care. He's the second in command of the executive branch of the United States government. And so he's getting his physicals from someone who's highly competent. Generally speaking, the topmost medical minds are the ones that are going to be, responsible for the president, vice president, a few others in the White House. So you have a chief physician there. And it's like basically, hey, mostly it's old fogies being president. If they have chest pains in the middle of the night, you want somebody who's physically there. You don't want to have to call in an ambulance because kind of an important job position, and people would be really grumbling if all of a sudden you wake up to the news that the chief executive died in their sleep because there was nobody that was close enough to resuscitate them. This individual, White House chief physician, is now saying outright, yes, Joe Biden is not the same man that he was years ago. He is familiar with him. He has interacted with him. He's been in the same room with him multiple times. And he's saying, indeed, yes, Biden is suffering from cognitive decline. Now, it's beyond memory loss. When you hit your 80s, like let's say by some miracle I managed to live long enough to be in my 80s. So I literally begin to look like a spoon wizard. And I'll embrace that, by the way. I'll start putting fucking wizard robes on and have my staff in the background and shit like that at that point. It's like, you basically, when you're male, there are two ways you can go. If you don't get like a bunch of hair loss, you grow it out long, you have long, like shot gray hair, you start looking like Gandalf. If you start balding, you shave your head off, you grow a big bushy beard, and then you look sort of like an executioner or a madman or something like that. Either way, it's perfectly fine. I'm looking forward to it, assuming I live long enough to get to that point. You're expected to have memory loss. Even I'm 36. Sometimes I forget what I was saying, or I forget to, someone's name, like, jog my memory. Oh, okay, that's your. With Biden, though, it's more than that. It's not a stutter. It's not just basic cognitive decline in the sense that literally all of us will have if we attain elderly status. An 80-year-old is not going to be as sharp mentally as they were when they were 30 or 25. It's impossible. It doesn't matter how many nootropics they're taking. It doesn't matter if they take magical supplements and they work out 4 hours a day and they eat the healthiest diet and everything. Okay, well, that's okay. You're slowing down the aging process probably. More power to you. You're 75, but you don't look a day over 55. That's quite an accomplishment. But you still are not as sharp as you used to be. There's no possibility of that actually happening. Your mind over time, like a computer processing system, slows down. It's just the way that it is. We have to deal with getting old and dying and shit like that. Everyone poops and gets sick and occasionally vomits. Maybe when they're older they sit on their balls. That's a running joke. I'm not looking forward to that aspect of aging, by the way. It's going to be an interesting day. When the White House chief physician, who has no reason to lie, is corroborating, hey, this DOJ report says Biden can't even remember when his own son died and shit like that, and saying, well, that's not the Biden that I knew. When he was in the White House before, he was mentally aware. And by the way, he was. A lot of people made jokes about Biden being like out to lunch when he was vice president. He wasn't out to lunch. He's just a goofball. He says weird shit sometimes. He forgets things, but he was already in his 70s, so that's normal. Or pushing 70. That's normal. He was chosen specifically because he's old and white. That's why Obama fucking chose him as running mate. It was funny because originally he said, well, I don't know who his running mate will be, but I know it's not me. And surprise, Joe, it actually was you, and we're all regretting that fact. But if you looked at the field, he could have chosen Hillary Clinton. Then he would have to do what Joe does with Kamala Harris. You walk first when I'm going down these stairs. I don't want you walking behind me. I want to get pushed. Hillary Clinton, by the way, has a problem with stairs herself. On her visit to India some years ago, there was a little bit of trouble there. The steps were slippery. That happens a lot among elderly Democrats lately. And no, this is further corroboration The DOJ report is damning. It claims that Joe Biden has profound mental problems, profound memory loss. So we're not talking, okay, occasionally he mixes up a word or something. It's a stutter, gaslighting the public with that. It's not that, it's beyond that. They wouldn't have included it in the goddamn report if it weren't. Do you think that they wanted to include that line in the report? That's just a justification to the American people why they're not prosecuting him for clearly committing a felony. Because they look like a bunch of goddamn hypocrites because they're prosecuting Trump for the same thing even though he was legally entitled to take his paperwork back to the Mar-a-Lago. They're trying to cover ass. They're trying to help the dude. The only way that they could formulate to help the Biden administration is to say that Joe Biden doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He barely knows where he is. He's an incompetent mental vegetable, so we can't charge him. No jury will find him guilty. Because he'll just use the insanity defense. That's basically what the DOJ report boils down to. Now you've got the former White House chief physician echoing the same thing. He's like, well, he was watching, footage of Biden. He didn't act like that before. He was perfectly mentally aware. He knew full well what he was doing. By the way, when he removed those documents, he was mentally aware of the fact at the time because it was many years ago. He was a senator when some of this stuff was produced. He can't claim mental incompetence. It said ex post facto dementia. Yeah, he was perfectly cognizant at the time that he killed someone, but we didn't catch him for 10 years and now he's out to lunch. We can't put him on trial. It's like the Burgundy defense or some shit like that. It's insane. Well, Biden is too, so I mean he's in good company. When Obama's former doctor is telling the American public that a person that clearly got along with, he seems not to dislike Joe Biden or anything like that. When he's saying, okay, this is a profound change from the person that I used to medically examine personally, wrote up health reports about personally, I would think that we need no further evidence that indeed it is dementia in his case. There are still people out there, though, that will totally do the cognitive dissonance deflecting thing. It's like Dementia Dawn and Trump is not well were trending the other day. It's an AstroTurf. Some of these people are literally paid shills, and the rest are mainly bots, trying to AstroTurf the idea of Donald Trump, who's never been declared mentally incompetent to stand trial. He's the one with a problem. There's no DOJ report saying, well, we're sorry, American public. We know that Donald Trump committed 90 felonies, but we can't charge him. No jury will find him guilty, because he'll simply say, look, I forgot that I committed the felony. I'm sorry, but, I was spacing out, and I couldn't remember Don Jr.'s name, and I thought Ivanka was Melania at one point, and by the way, what year is this? Did somebody get me a Coke? I'm starving here. It wouldn't work. Well, by the way, that's the other thing, the differential in the justice system, the differential enforcement. You got two older gentlemen that are both, in Jack Smith's case, it's exactly the same charge, although not the same circumstances. One of them is not charged at all because no court would find him guilty. The other one, they're trying to throw the wall at him. Okay, again, this totally is not an impeachment of the entire so-called justice system. This is totally not damning. Biden's having a terrible goddamn time. You saw that Kamala the other day was wasted. I guarantee the reason why she had one extra hard iced tea and then decided to somehow change to a southern accent for grants. It was crazy. Watch that video. Kamala was hammered yesterday. The reason why is because she's dealing with this. Behind closed doors, these people are panicking right now. They're in meltdown mode. Kamala does not want to lose her job. I think she genuinely wants to be the running mate in another successful campaign. Well, you might not get that chance because it's looking more and more like the liberal legacy media is going to throw Biden under the bus. Maybe it'll turn out that I'm wrong. They actually do force him out. Wouldn't that be funny? It's political suicide, and I don't know who they'd replace him with, and they would probably lose in the process by an even larger margin than fielding Joe, but they may actually be crazier than Joe is. They may be willing to do that, and I really love this election. As you can probably tell from my heightened energy level, and it ain't just the caffeine. That's about all. Peace out.